story. All right, next story is about a brother named Walter Wallace Jr. Now, on Monday, October 26th, Walter Wallace Jr., a 27-year-old black man who suffered from bipolar disorder, was fatally shot by Philadelphia police officers as he was walking towards them. He was apparently experiencing a mental health crisis
Mm.
and was
Mm-hmm.
wielding a knife. Now, it's important to note that Wallace's family had called an ambulance, not police. They called an ambulance for assistance before the killing, but police arrived first. A cell phone video of the encounter, which has since gone viral, has raised new questions about the role of the police when engaging individuals with mental health issues. And I'm gonna put it over to my sister here in a minute because she's big on mental health advocacy. So I'm gonna get her take on this in a minute. And the question that most people are, the question that's arising is, was everything done to de-escalate the situation? Now, it goes on to say that inadequate mental health intervention has been shown to lead the fatal law enforcement encounters. Adults with severe mental illness account for 1 in 4 people killed in police encounters, according to a 2015 report from the Treatment
Right.
Advocacy Center, a national nonprofit organization based in Arlington, Virginia. Individuals with untreated mental illness are 16
Yes.
times more likely to be killed in an encounter with law enforcement other than civilians. Meanwhile, individuals with serious mental illness account for only 3 to 5% of violent acts, which basically saying something is wrong with them. They're not violent. They're not um, going to try to hurt you. And watching the video, the brother did have a knife.
He
So
did.
look, I understand that as a police officer, you got a family, you want to go home to your family. Somebody has something that can harm you. The question becomes, in my opinion, how do I react? Now, if they have a gun, you shoot them. We all can agree. If I'm a
Right.
cop, I
Right.
pull you over, you pull out a gun, that's fair. Now I have to shoot you to protect myself. Now, look, Cherene, if somebody pulls out a knife, what else can a cop do? Can't we go with like shooting them in the leg? Now, a detective or one of the sergeants mentioned that they didn't have tasers on them because
Right.
somebody was saying, "Hey, you could have just tased them." They said, "Look,
Exactly.
we didn't have tasers." So, in your opinion, what other route can be taken? Because obviously, because I think both officers shot 7 times, that was unnecessary. So, in your opinion, what could have been done to make it so this brother's still here today?
That's a good question. That's a very, very good question. It's a very valid question.
Mm-hmm.
However, based on my years of living and based on history and the way that I know that police are trained, I have a friend that I used to play soccer with when I was like 9 years old, who's a police officer now, who told me that police are shot to kill. They shoot to kill. So when you say what else could happen, there is nothing else that's going to happen. The police
Mm.
officers are trained to shoot to kill. They're
Wow.
trained to shoot to kill. They're not trained to shoot in the leg anymore. Now I
Mm.
don't know, like even back in the day, like was that the case? I would have to do my research. But for right
Mm-hmm.
now, they are trained to kill, shoot to kill. You don't shoot to harm, right? Because if you shoot somebody in the leg, what's the chances that they might not get up? This is what their excuse would be. What's the chances
Mm-hmm.
that say they had a gun in their pocket that they didn't see? So what's the
Mm.
chances if you shoot him in the leg and he falls backwards, pulls out his gun, and start blazing?
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, they don't give you that opportunity.
Mm.
I meet people sometimes that say, Cherene, if somebody, these are people that just can't really speak or communicate real good. If someone's in my face, Cherene, and they get like this close to me and they start threatening me, I punch them first. I don't even allow them to hit me. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of the mentality that the police are having. They, they,
Mm.
you have a gun, you have a knife, you have a damn spoon. I'm not gonna allow you to hurt me. I'm gonna
Mm.
kill you. And so I really don't have an answer for you in regards to that because I know that police officers are trained to kill. We could do some more research on this and follow up on another day. They're
Mm-hmm.
trained. They're trained to shoot to kill.
Mm-hmm.
Your
And
question. Ask your question. Can you think of a case where they didn't do that?
no, I
Stephon
know.
Clark. They
if
shot
the
at him too
person
many times.
and if the person doesn't die, it's kind of just by accident. Like they shot to kill him, but for whatever reason, he lived through it or whatever. But another thing I want to say, the whole defunding the police movement, right? Now, of course, I don't think you should take money directly from police departments so now they don't have adequate equipment
Okay.
or the adequate setup to do their job. However, maybe some of the funds can be allocated to other things. Like we was talking about this a little bit earlier, but I think if it's a mental health issue, maybe a cop shouldn't show up.
Yeah.
Maybe like or maybe a cop along with a trained psychologist or something.
Yes, there's a study being done, and again, I don't have all the information, but it is a valid source that I got that from. And
Mm-hmm.
basically, what they did a pilot where they had
Mm.
social workers when it was a mental illness call. Oh, this
Mm-hmm.
my son has paranoid schizophrenia. Can you please come get him? He's on top of the roof. It won't just be a police officer. It will be a social worker, someone like myself,
Mm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know, basically social workers are just almost like therapists. Once you
Mm.
get your master's and you become licensed, you are indeed a therapist. So
Mm.
what they're thinking about is getting licensed clinical social workers, licensed therapists to ride along with these police officers when they get called on mental health situations.
You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, and I think we just need to begin exploring stuff like that because I'm tired of seeing um, what happens to our people. Now I know the media sometimes plays a role in polarizing certain incidents, and I'm aware of that. But in general, because if this was a white person, I would feel the same way. I don't think nobody should be killed in that instance because with this guy, the family
Yeah.
mentioned that the police has been out to the house several times.
Right.
Um, they mentioned his record, and the brother was going through it. Like his record and the things that he was doing shows he was having problems with his mom. He put his hands on his mom. I mean, he wasn't in the right headspace.
He
So
wasn't.
again, he shouldn't he that shouldn't be a death sentence. So we
Right.
have to figure out a way to police. And then for black folks, when you see things like this is why even today I've had positive experiences with police officers. I'm not going to lie and act like every cop I've come across has been an asshole. However, when I see cops, whether behind me, whether they're close to me, I get kind of anxiety a little bit because
Yeah.
I don't know how he gonna act. I don't because he has the right to kill me and go home. That's the
Right.
long and short of it.
Right.
So
Right.
anybody with that kind of power, some of them choose to wield that power. And like I say in a lot of my shows, in 2014, the FBI reported that white supremacist groups have infiltrated the police departments around the country.
Oh
So
yeah.
it makes it difficult for me to look at police interactions and not think, damn, did he just want to kill him? Was he just out to do something to him? You know what I mean? So
You
it's
don't
some real
even have
fucked
to
up shit.
second guess yourself because you already know. It's just like Judge Judy. She says if it doesn't make sense, it's not the truth. It doesn't make sense for two officers, right, to
Mm-hmm.
shoot 7 times at a man with a knife. So therefore, the truth of the matter is they wanted to kill him. And we can no longer keep trying to make excuses and trying to find we spend so much time trying to find, okay, well, if he didn't have a gun, like I was reading some of the messages and the notes and people talking about this, and they're like, well, he had a gun, and so I'm sorry, he had a knife. And so
Mm-hmm.
at that point it's supposed to be like, well, he had a knife. Do you know how many white people have knives? I mean,
Yeah.
I'll save I'll save them when I see the videotapes. I'm gonna save them and send them to you. They don't
Mm-hmm.
get killed. Do you know how
I've
many?
seen the other day, I seen a young white guy who was rioting. He had on the mask. He had a hockey puck thing, like the big hockey puck thing. The
Yeah.
police's camera was on. The police was in the car with the window rolled up.
Mm-hmm.
He came up to the car and began beating the shit out the car, hitting it several times, hitting the window. What he had wasn't strong enough to break the glass, but the cop just looked at him. He didn't say nothing. He didn't get out. He didn't pull his gun. Another incident I seen like 2 months ago where, and I've seen this on video, but Cherene, I've actually seen this with my own eyes,
Uh
where
huh.
a white guy gets pulled over. and he gets out of the car. He gets
Mm-hmm.
out of the car, heads towards the police cruiser. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but he was flailing his arms like, "What are you doing? Why you pull
Yeah.
me over?" The cop approached him like this. "Hey, calm down." I said, "Okay, wait a minute.
Hands
Wait a
up.
minute. You
Cop putting his
approaching
hands up.
him." He was like, "Wait a minute. Hey, what you doing, man? Hold on." I'm like, "Whoa." So to me, you're just treating him like a human. You just treating him like that's your brother, like that's your friend. You giving the situation enough empathy to see it clearly. You know what I mean?
Well,
It seems like,
let's talk about. I believe it was after George Floyd or another killing. It's so many of them that I
yeah,
kind of actually lose track.
yeah.
Where the white boy came from a whole nother city where they were riding at. Remember with the
Oh,
AK-47,
Kyle Rittenhouse. I
and
think that was Kyle
he
Rittenhouse.
went and he actually killed some folk.
Mm-hmm.
Police came. Everybody's like, there he is, there he is. The police drove right by him. Hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Nothing. And he
Yeah.
kept on walking. Do you think that would have been a black man
Mm-hmm.
with a gun like that he would have just been
Mm-hmm.
able to keep walking? So
Mm-hmm.
see, when I was young, I used to ask my mom a lot too. Why, why? The answer is pure hate. The answer is white supremacy. The answer is white supremacists. The answer is racism. The answer is we're not liked in this country. We were only here to build this country and to serve as like slaves in
Yeah.
this country.
Yeah.
They didn't want this to happen. Everything that's
Mm-hmm.
going on right now was not a part of the plan.
Damn right. All this.
Hence mass
Yeah.
incarceration. Hence the
Mm-hmm.
war on drugs. All
Mm-hmm.
these things to try to keep us down because they saw us progressing.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, it's not going to be another outcome, Harrison. It just won't. And I bet you money on that.
Hmm.
When we have this next conversation and we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
another black male that was killed with a knife or something like that in his hand or nothing in his hand, we're going to talk about him getting his head blown off and wonder why they didn't do something different. We've been talking about this for so long.
See, and people act like this is new. I mean, Rodney King, that was on tape, right?
Right. That's
Rodney King was on tape.
they
You know what I
beat
mean?
the they killed.
And we watching this like that could be me. Like people are expecting me to disconnect from what I'm seeing. Some people hit me at times and be like, "Hey, man, we're talking about race, bro. It's not even that. It's not about black or white, bro." I'm like, man, I wish I lived
Yeah.
in a country that wasn't about black and white. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're not gonna tell me I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. You know what I mean?
They want you to overlook it because they're nice. They want you to like a lot of people say about the police, like you said. Well, I have some good encounters. You know what? Coming from a black woman, I haven't. And I had a
Mm.
whole, I guess it's what's those guns, the Glocks. I
Mm-hmm.
had a whole man run up on me with his Glock and tell me to get out the car. He told me to get out the
Damn.
car. He was in the undercover Astro van on
Mm.
4th of July, maybe some 8 years ago, even longer ago. He had his lights on, and you know we love our music. I'm playing music, I'm vibing out, not really celebrating July 4th, but I'm like, hey, hey, I don't hear this man with the one single light on an Astro
Mm-hmm.
van. So if
Mm-hmm.
you follow me, I turned on Luther. That's right across the street from Luther Burbank on Florin Road.
Yep. I know what
When
that
I
is.
finally seen him, I pulled over. This man ran out to his car. He was about 6 feet away from me with the Glock, the regular the gun that ones they have right here. And
Mm-hmm.
he get out the car, get out the car. I've never been the same since.
I
So
bet.
it's just like you're. I think that we want to have hope. And again, when I was young, my mother taught me to have hope. I want to have hope, but when I look at each situation, every day something new, I don't have that hope. So maybe you can help me to get my hope back one day. But the hope is really not there anymore. What I want to do now is just make sure that we get what we are supposed to have. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have hope of being treated fairly.
Yes.
That's not going to
So
happen.
yeah, and we were talking about that a little bit earlier. Whereas black folks we're pointing out racism, we're pointing out white supremacy. But if you look at the history of the country, I don't think it's not being hopeful, Cherene. I think it's almost practical to say, okay,
There you
nothing
go.
has changed. in this
Right.
whole period of time. So I'm going to go ahead and assume for the
Right.
rest of my life, we over 40, for the rest of my 20, 30, 40 years here, things may not change either. So with that in place, what can we do
What can we do?
amongst ourselves to circumvent some of these issues and put our kids and the younger people in a position where they can fight some of this, where they can be in politics, or maybe our kids can be cops. Figure
Right.
out different ways
Exactly.
because we
Because
in this system. So
the
we have to
pain.
figure out a way to participate that's going to help us.
Indeed. And the pain that we are feeling because of all this that's going on is bringing you back to people killing themselves. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not far fetched. It's not. That's the sad part about it, because in my mind I'm like, he probably did kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the other side is like, there's no way this man climbed up a tree and did all of that. Or was he trying to make a statement? Like, there's so many questions. But the
It is
underlying the underlying issue is the white supremacy. That's the underlying
always.
issue. So no matter what the hell I ask, even if he did do it, he was suffering from mental illness that went undiagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't do it, then it's modern day lynching going on, warning us.
Definitely,
You
definitely. So
understand what I'm
that's
saying?
definitely, definitely. So again, that's another situation where I hope that family gets some sort of justice. Now we understand how this works, where a Benjamin Crump type may step in and sue the police department in Philadelphia, and the family get a little bit of change. I don't know. Now, of course, money can help you with expenses. It can help you feel better about the situation, but ultimately, I don't give us money, but we need more than just
Right,
some cash in some of these instances. You know what I mean?
right,
But if you're not going to get a cop arrested or something, then a payment may be all that you can get out of the situation.
right.
It's just unfortunate that we still dealing with these situations. So rest in peace to the brother Walter Wallace Jr., man. I hope in the future we can get to a place, even in our community, where we're recognizing mental illness and
Yes,
taking it
yes.
more serious,
Rest
seeing
in
it in a
peace.
kid and bringing him to talk to somebody, making sure we're not uh, feeling ashamed about it, making sure
Exactly.
we get rid of some of our terminology, like you hit me to a little earlier, like just saying, "Oh, I got a cousin who crazy."
Right.
That's pretty dismissive in not breaking down the actual problems that he's dealing with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, crazy. Let me tell you, crazy. The Center of Disease Control noted that 15% of Black people who were surveyed in late June had seriously considered suicide
Hmm.
within the past 30 days,
Hmm.
compared to only 8% of their white counterparts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when we talk about, oh, he's crazy, the Center of Disease Control is telling you right now that 15% of Black people who were surveyed in late June of 2020,
Hmm.
so basically within around the time that George Floyd was killed, within 30 days from like May to June, had considered suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you consider suicide, the mental illness is very deep. When you
Definitely.
consider taking your whole entire life, it's worse than, okay, I'm depressed. I've been depressed for a year. I've been depressed for 2 months. When you feel like there's no way out, that's the most severe type of mental illness there is.
Definitely. Definitely.
So, so,
So
so, if the young man could have gotten some help, if the young man would have had some resources, what would be the difference? How would we know? Because those resources are not available to us. They're not available to us in poor urban neighborhoods where that man is from. I'm sure he wasn't from a rich area in Philadelphia.
and his family mentioned how the police had been out there several times, how they have had several different bouts with him going through this. If there was some sort of center available where they could have brought him to get him help, most of us would do that. If we were
Exactly.
aware of something in our community where, hey, here's a facility that's going to help him, that's going to walk him through it, we would actually use these resources. We just don't have it a lot in our community. So rest in peace to that brother. Hopefully
Indeed.